Hey guys, we're going live just a little bit early. Just want to make sure all my systems are checked out this time. We did have some issues last time, so just want to make sure we got those nice and corrected. Uh, yeah, so let's see how everything's going. Yeah, today's going to be our episode 2 of Josh Says Mean Things. That's kind of a tongue-in-cheek title for our review show. So we'll be reviewing user-submitted photos. A lot of our submissions come from our Patreon, which is patreon.com/azulox. So if you like what we do and kind of want to support what we do, that's a great place to see all the things, to get all the educational and our podcast and behind the scenes there. So if you want to become a supporter of all the things we do, that'd be the best place for that. And we certainly appreciate all the patrons we currently have because they've been awesome. Yeah, if y'all want to submit for the next episode, we'll be going live again in 2 weeks. So again, you can always email submissions at josh@azulox.com. And that'll get you there for our next one. Yeah. Hey, all right. So if y'all have already started to log in, just say hi in the chat window. We'll be able to see that now live in the stream. Figured that out. Trying to figure out a whole bunch of new things. Trying to learn from episode 1 to episode 2. Hopefully we can continue to do that. Always try to get better. That's always what I like to do. Always like to improve, continually improve. Yeah, so we'll be starting here in just a few minutes. Want to let everybody give a chance to log on and, get comfy, maybe get a Topo Chico, maybe get something, cold and frosty to drink. And that way we can enjoy. We're going to go for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. We have 10 more photos to go through this episode. So we have some fun ones. Hey, Debbie, how you doing? So yeah, we have some fun submissions. There's quite a few genres that we're going to be covering today. We have some street portraiture, we have some snapshots, we have some composites, we definitely have some blue bonnets. We have some concert photography that we're going to be going over. So yeah, it's kind of neat to see, how many different types of photography and genres there are. I think I'm good at a couple of them, but it's always fun to see the ones that either I appreciate but don't have the time to do, like music photography. I love good music photography. For me, I don't have a lot of time to go out and do that, right? Late nights are hard for me. I have small children, so that can be a little bit challenging, but I love seeing a good, energetic, music venue or live show. That's always fun. It makes me feel like I get to go out like I'm young again. So, hey, Ronnie, how you doing? Glad to see y'all. Hey, Noe, what's up, man? All right, look at that. We got y'all in the stream now. Um, so let's go ahead. We'll just go ahead. Let's see if we can push that live now. I guess we're ready to go. It's 2 o'clock. Yeah, what's up, everybody? All right, I'm wearing my orange today. Got a little blue highlights going from a new light wand I'm testing out. Um, I think it's really fun that we have so many different genres and we can help out so many different types of people with our education, with what we do. So it's really fun to see everybody submit different types of photos, different genres, different takes on some of the same subjects. So um, yeah. We got 3 of y'all up so far today. We'll wait a few more minutes before I really start getting in the photos. The one you see on the screen right now, we were doing a architectural photo walk for one of my classes at Precision Camera. And this was a barcode type thing on I think it's on Mellow Johnny's downtown, the Lance Armstrong's bike shop downtown. This was just a cool like design on the wall. And so I really tried to use this as an example of nothing's more interesting than a pattern interrupted, right? We had all these white stripes, but it was neat to see that one yellow stripe that kind of separates itself off from the rest. Right, so that's just kind of a visual example of something that I say a lot, which is, if you want good photos, break the pattern, right? Pattern interrupted. Also, old Angelina Jolie movie, right? Girl Interrupted. I'm not going to be talking about that today. I'm not the movie reviewer, not the movie critic. I know that's a popular genre, but that's not what I do. I break down people's photos and say mean things, right? This is episode 2 of Josh Says Mean Things. Hopefully, it's something we can continue to do. I have fun doing it. I hope y'all have fun with it as well. It's just a way to get your photos out, get some feedback, and just have a little fun with it. I'll try to be somewhat nice, but I may say some jarring things, but it's all for fun. It's all for show. I love that y'all submit photos for us to go over, so please don't take anything too personally. We do have to make things entertaining for a show, so we'll do that. Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and we'll wait 2 more minutes. Well, I'll give everybody the Austin 5-minute get to where they're gonna get sit down 5 minutes. I like that we got this chat widget going. It's kind of cool that I can look on my live streaming software and see what y'all are chatting kind of in scene, which is nice instead of me having to flip back and forth on different scenes. I'm also running 2 cameras today, so I can look at this camera and then I can look at that camera. And so I'm still trying to play with the setup, still trying to play with how we want to do it. I try to put a background behind me today because this living room is also where my kids do all their schoolwork, and it's a wreck right now, so I didn't feel like cleaning up, so I just threw up a quick backdrop, but I should have brought my 12-foot roll and not my 6-foot roll. So lesson learned there. I'll bring a bigger roll next time so you don't have to see over here in this general area all the dirty stuff there. But the couch behind me is even worse, so I figured this would be a good compromise. Yeah, and actually I'm gonna go ahead and start with a photo that I took actually last night. And I call this photo Voyeur number 1. So I started a new series last night. I'm going to do some more tonight, and I hope to do some more the rest of this week and going on in the next couple weeks. It's something I'm pretty excited about. I've been seeing all these like front porch photos. Right, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I've been seeing these front porch photos, and they're nice and they're sweet, but I don't think they accurately convey the mood that we all have right now. I've been feeling quite a bit more ambiguous. I'm not sure what's going to be going on in the world. I don't know when this is going to end. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. So there's that feeling of ambiguity, of not knowing what's going to happen. And so this photo, it's called, like I said, it's called Voyeur number 1. And a good friend of mine, Christine, and her husband, Rye, were nice enough to be my guinea pigs for this. And so we stayed completely safe. They stayed completely inside. I stayed completely outside. I didn't touch any surfaces. But what I did, I had 2 big lights that I gelled, and I'm blasting them through different windows in their house. And so this is my alternate take on the front porch, by basically shooting in people's back porches, and kind of showing that different feel, right? The front porch ones have been very, very warm, very happy, very go-lucky, and that's just not at all what I feel right now. And so this is really more of an attempt for me to put out the mood and the atmosphere of what I've been feeling. A little bit more blue, a little bit more sad, a little bit, sad for the things we lost, for the people we can't see right now. So I'll throw this out in the chat, but the inspiration for the lighting and the overall feel, there's a photographer in the Northeast named Gregory Crutzen. Go Google his name. His work is amazing. I think the documentary that was done about him is still on Netflix. So if you want something really cool to take a look at, it's a really, really interesting documentary about his process, how he does things, and the crew he sets up, and just the thought process in general behind a lot of his photos. And this is definitely an inspired by Gregory Crutzen type of photo. So if you're interested in volunteering to let me come shoot from your back porch, let me know, and I will show up unannounced. No, no, I'll let you know when I'm coming, but we'll show up and kind of set up some lights and do some interesting things. But yeah, it has to be volunteer. I'm trying to do, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 20 of these, something enough where I can put a series together, maybe put a little book together, something like that. But yeah, so this is the whole series is called Voyeur, and this is the first one called Voyeur number one. So I hope that's something that y'all are enjoying. There's another one on my Instagram if y'all want to go check that out, at Azulux. Yeah, it's just a different vibe, different feel. It is kind of fun having the limits of only being able to put lights in windows and not exactly where I want them, and kind of dealing with those imperfections. So yeah, so yeah, so let's go and take a look at some actual user submissions. Um, yeah, the first one we're gonna do submitted by our good friend. Bill Bunton, and he told me this was a composite. So we have a Jeep in motion and a Jeep. The sky was a different composite, but it's really beautifully done. This is the type of photo that absolutely feels like it could be an ad for Jeep, right? That's perfect. I really like the vibe of this. You know, it makes me, especially now, right? Especially now when we feel closed in. How many of us really want to go out and go jeeping in the mountains? Like, that sounds awesome to me right now. I know we're starting off with an episode of Josh Says Mean Things by not saying anything mean yet. Trust me, we'll get there. But yeah, I love the mood. I love the feel. It is a composite, but I think that if he hadn't told me that it was, I don't know that if I would have known that it was. Everything's blended really well. I also really like that Jeep on the right is in motion, right? It has a blur to it, and that's a different shutter speed than the rest of the photo was taken with. But it really adds that sense of vibrancy and energy to the photo, instead of just feeling very still. I think a lot of time with automotive photography, we shoot at too high of a shutter speed, and what happens is the cars look like they're parked. Well, we want to show cars in motion because that's their whole purpose, is to be, in motion. So it's fun to see one where it feels like they're driving through the scene, and we have that slower shutter speed to really feel like we're driving through the scene instead of just parked on a road. It is nice when they're parked on the road. You can do lights and you can do all that kind of stuff, but to have that energy and motion really takes this type of photo even further. So again, if you're shooting automotive, it's probably a good idea to try out some slower shutter speed so that we can see the cars in motion, so that we feel what it feels like to be driving that car. All right, so here we have another one from one of our patrons. We have a fire hydrant and a field of blue bonnets. See now, so now we can start saying mean things. Get closer, crop in, get closer, crop in. I want to see just the fire hydrant and just a patch of blue bonnets. All the other parts of this photo don't help it. I want to see exactly just almost a portrait mode, just the blue photos, right? Just the blue photos, just the fire hydrant. That's it. Um, you're letting the viewer escape out of the photo from what you're intending to say with it, right? This red and the blue, that's the story to this, right? The blue and the red contrast, that's the story. But by having too much open space going away from the photos and the blue bonnets and the fire hydrant, you're letting the viewer escape the story. You really have to kind of grab them by the face and say, look at this and nothing else. And I think by cropping in a vertical crop, just the fire hydrant, just the blue bonnets, you can kind of get that viewer's eyeballs and say, yeah, look just at this. Yes, it is whimsical that that there is a fire hydrant and a field of blue bonnets. I don't know if this was a composite. I don't think it was. It's certainly funny. It certainly catches your eyes and just goes, why is there a fire hydrant and a field of blue bonnets? And for those of us in Texas, right, that's always something that we appreciate. Fields of bluebonnets with things in them. I certainly do my share of family portraits and senior portraits and bluebonnets. It's a rite of passage in Central Texas. But I think to make this even more impactful, I would crop in a lot tighter for this one. And generally, that's going to always be my critique. So in general, if I don't say it, always crop in tighter. I have to worry about that myself too. All right, here's a photo again that I love. This was submitted by a friend, Christine, who was just in the voyeur photo. And she does a lot of work at senior centers with assisted living communities. And I really respect that she goes out and shoots things that not everybody goes and shoots. So this has a cool floral background to it. And this old lady has some sass to her. But it's a well-lit portrait, just that classic, really nice black and white conversion. I like that it's not necessarily centered. Her pose doesn't suggest that it needs to be centered. I like that she kind of has a little bit of a wily attitude about her, kind of looking through her eyes, where she's kind of judging you and how she is looking at the camera in that gaze. She has a wonderful gaze. And then, you don't usually expect to see a floral crown. We expect that on 20-somethings, not on, 50, 60, 70-somethings. And so I love the contrast of floral crown, the youth, that classic lighting. I think this is just a beautiful portrait. She actually submitted two, and there was one in color, and it was beautiful as well. But I thought, I don't know, I've just been kind of more of a black and white, more of a muted tone feel the last couple days. Maybe with everything that's going on, that's just kind of how I feel a little bit more. But yeah, I really love this. So Christine, that's a really fantastic photo. I love that you keep doing this. I know that it's hard in this time with what we're going through. That this population is the hardest hit, and so I know you're going to have to wait a little while before you can do more of these. But I really love this. I'm trying to be conscious myself about not just shooting people I know, not just shooting people I've already worked with, but trying to figure out how to expand my network, trying to figure out how to go and photograph the people that I normally don't, and shine a spotlight on them. I don't want to just photograph people that look like me. And so that's certainly been a challenge for me, and I applaud the fact that you've gone out and started taking portraits of people that don't look like you necessarily, different age, different background, whatever. So keep that up. I think that's going to make your photos only the more interesting. All right. So this one is submitted from a friend of mine, Kara. Hope you're watching. I tried calling you a little while ago. You didn't answer. She said, tear this one apart. I tried to figure out how to do something with this photo, and I don't feel like I got there. So here's my first suggestion on this one. A, bring the subjects closer. B, we have all this beautiful triangles. Shoot through those and use triangle as a foreground framing element. We have all these layers of this building, right? We're inside a building that hasn't been built yet. But we kind of, this photo just uses this as a backdrop instead of putting some in front and some behind our subjects to make the building feel more like a three-dimensional living thing. The building right now feels flat, but we know, if we think about it, we know it's not. And so just move like 5 feet to your left, and you have this cool diagonal coming across the screen. I'm gonna have to learn how to do that. You have this cool diagonal coming across the screen, and use that as a foregrounding element so that you're shooting through that triangle, get them off the walls and the 2x4s just a little bit, so that we can see more of those triangles, so that we can see more of the layers and depths to the photos. And in that way, we can make the people feel more inside the photo. I would also bring them up a little bit closer to the photo. They feel a little far away. The other thing on a photo like this with this many lines is make sure that our vertical lines are vertical. If we look, this photo is kind of going triangular, and I'm guessing the house is not triangular. I bet the house is straight up and down. And so, let's in software, let's make sure that we take those triangular lines and make them vertical, right? The guided tool in Lightroom would be your friend here. The other thing we could do, it looks like there might have been some kind of sunset or something like that. Dropping our ambient exposure down, bringing those people around, and then spotlighting them more with a light, or maybe adding another light from behind, but getting that ambient down so that we can see that sunset, so that we can see that glow, to really make that warm feeling come through. Right, we have all these exposed wood. Let's use those warm tones to kind of come in. Maybe like a backlight with a CTO gel, raking across yeah, raking across all of those 2x4s and those slats, and with a secondary light, it could have been very interesting. I'm assuming this was lit. If it wasn't lit, I still would have brought the people up off the back, made them bigger, and shot through that diagonal, just as a way to make them stand out against the house instead of just using the house as a background. So that'd be my advice for this one. All right, and keeping with our theme, this one is one of our submissions. She said it was the grandpa. I love his pose. Right? I don't know what he's looking for. I don't know if he's looking for rabbits or snakes or what, but I like that there's just enough of his face to identify him, but not so much that he's square on. Right? I think a lot of times when we're shooting portraits, we do so many portraits where we're looking straight at the person, straight at the person, straight at the person. And it's nice to change it up and get a different angle, right? I think if you want to make something interesting, show as little of it as possible, right? Like a very low-key lit light photo where everything's black except for the sliver of somebody's face. That's very interesting. Instead of a high-key photo where we can see all the data, right? A different feel for sure. But as far as interesting, we want to show less. But in going with this less vibe here, I feel this crop is a little bit loose. I would have punched in, I don't know, 10 or 20%. There's just so much room around his head and under his feet. I don't mind the feet so much. It kind of gives some of the depth perspective. But the top of the head, I would have come in just a little bit. And just to bring him out, because that's an interesting story there. The other interesting part of the story, right, would be a super crop of this, which would be just the hand, just the gun, just the blue jeans, and just let everything else go to color, right? So imagine if we just saw just the hand, just the gun, just the blue jeans. Doesn't that tell a lot of the story without having to show all of the story? Does that make sense? So in general, you can always be closer. You can always tell another part of the story with a detail. So imagine this is like the opening photo in a layout, but then that detail photo could show what the hands are doing. I'm always looking for what the hands are doing and what the eyes are doing, because if the hands are doing something interesting, or the eyes are laughing, or if the eyes are crying, right, that's a big part of the story. Hands and eyes, that's always what we want to concern ourselves with when we're doing this type of portraiture. And I think we have a lot of that going on, and I think as a wide shot this is fine, maybe just a little bit tighter, not a lot, but just a little bit cropped in, but then coming back with a telephoto or something you can get close with and show just that hand, just that blue jean, right? I think that's a very interesting detail that helps tell the story even more. And so in general, for all types of photography that I'm doing, I always want to ask myself, how do I tell this story? What do I need to show? What do I need to exclude to tell this story? So much of photography is the angle we're pointed, but then also the other 359 angles that were not pointed, right? We all know the photo of the pyramids at Giza, right? We know that view, but if you turn 180, like they're in the center of town. And so what we show and what we don't show is such a huge part to what we do, right? That's the whole idea behind composition. What do you show? What do you not show? How do you make what you show interesting? So I think that as we work and as we work to get better, that's something to always consider. What do I show? What do I not show? Where do I point my camera? Where do I not point my camera? And then how close can I get? So we're going to see some close photos that I think kind of illustrate that as well. Yeah. Here we have a submission from Debbie. Debbie sent me 5 photos. I picked this one. Um, I think there's something very interesting about this photo, and I don't know if it was intentional, but either way, it's a really amazing capture, which is the flow of the crowd is all moving from right to left, right? Everything's coming across the screen in one direction, right? Everybody's walking in one direction. And this guy protesting is literally going against the crowd. Like, how metaphorically amazing is that? That we have a crowd of protesters and this guy's going against the crowd, which is the entire thing they're protesting anyway, right? We have huge communities shutting down. We have all these things shutting down. And then we have just a very few of them trying to go against the crowd. And so I just thought this was brilliant execution of saying what the thing is saying, but also saying more about what the photo is saying. Right? There's 2 levels to this photo. There's the literal. We have a protester with a sign that says "Open Now," but that protester is literally going against the crowd of traffic to say what he's saying, which he's literally doing against the community. I also like the black and white conversion. Um, this photo, we know that it was taken recently by this, but by converting it in black and white, it also brings up classic um, protest photography, right? From Kent State to Tiananmen Square to, right, all these classic protests. A lot of them um, are shot in black and white, so it kind of harkens back and it brings back the lineage of this type of photography, right? We're going to go out onto a street. We're going to go capture the things that are going on. And there was other photos in the series, and they were also very good. But I love the fact that it's black and white as a way to tie into classic photography that was also shining a light on people for better or for worse, right? Yeah, Debbie, I know. Yeah, I said go shoot what's happening, and she did. And she came back with this awesome photo. I also love that it's a square crop. Um, the cropping shows only exactly what we need to see, nothing more. I don't know what else was in the frame or what got cropped out, but I think this really centers the action on what's happening. What would I do differently? That's a great question. Um, I think a photo like this, when we're talking about slower shutter speeds, could have been very interesting, right? We have this person, and let's try to think about how we could even illustrate that point further of a person marching against the flow of humanity. And so a panning shot might have been very interesting, like a 1/15th of a second, where we're panning with the person with the open out sign, and then all the other movement would be contra our subject, and it would feel kind of more like a stream, and our subject could be sharp, assuming we're panning with them, or even just keep it very steady and try a very steady shot, hold it very tight up to your eyes, and do like a 1/5 or 1/10, like a very slow. They would be sharp enough, and then that traffic, all of those people would become anonymous, right? We wouldn't be able to see any detail in their face, only in the person standing still, as a way to add some energy and add some more flow to this scene. Um, I also think it's interesting that there's a lot of people with face masks and some without. Right, that's part of the story as well. So I hope you were safe. I'm assuming you were safe, and how you went out and covered this. But I think that's a very interesting triangle. We have the 2 people with face masks and the protester. So that could have been an interesting triangle to work with. Finding the pattern interrupted theme again: person with a face mask, person with a face mask, person without protesting, and have just those 3 subjects as a way to inform the viewer of what they're seeing. And I think that could have been a very interesting way to combat this type of photography. For me, the other way you could have done it, right? Super wide open aperture, right? 1.2, 1.4, 1.8, somewhere in there, where that thing is isolated and everything else is very blurred out. This feels like it's f8 and b there, which is good. I think it works for this. But if you wanted options, right, the other option would just be shoot extremely wide open as a way to isolate the person and let everybody else kind of go anonymous. So just some different ways to go through that. Okay, yeah, that's cool that there's very few masks. Yeah, that says a lot about the story though too. Well, good job getting the two that you got, because that definitely adds to the story, right? That definitely adds to what's going on here. So I thought that was very, very good. Um, so next we're going to go to another example of getting close. Um, so this was submitted by my good friend and Azulok's helper, Miss Stacy Wells. This was shot with a 12 millimeter lens on a crop body, so I don't know, 16 mil. Um, but I imagine that this flower is almost touching the front of the lens. Um, and I love the fact that we're that close to the photo to really make you feel like you're about to step on or breathe it in, or uh, it's right there in your face. And I like that those two things are isolated, whereas everything else is very blurry. Now, that being said, this show is called Josh Says Mean Things. We can't say everything nice. So what would I do differently? Um, oh, Kira, I've already roasted you, but I'll come back. So with this bluebonnet photo, I would have changed my angle one of two ways. Either taken my camera and come up and shown just the bluebonnet in the pattern of bluebonnets, right? All those bluebonnets behind, and gotten rid of the water completely behind you. Or gotten even lower and put the camera on the ground and had just that bluebonnet against the sky, right? So right now we have the tops of these bluebonnets and the tops of the of this other flower, and they're just kind of breaking the horizon, going into the water, and you're kind of like cropping at the head right here. That's essentially what you're doing with the horizon line, is cropping right at somebody's like eyeballs. And so if we take our camera and bring it up and get low, and then let those bluebonnets be the hero of the story, right? Photograph them like superheroes, right? From low and wide, that could be very interesting. Or from above and tilted down, where bluebonnets in focus against the sea of flowers, right? So we have two in focus against everything else. So that could have been an interesting way to go about this as well. I do like the vibe, right? We have this nice backlight coming in, that orange glow against the blue, right? Good color contrast, something we're always looking for, blue and orange color contrast. Yeah, I think we just need to change our angle up a little bit there. It was also shot on pretty high ISO. It was shot on like 3200. Not a big deal, but you had enough shutter speed at a wide angle, right? The general rule of thumb is for a wide angle lens, 1 over your focal length. Well, if you're at 12 millimeters, you could have probably been hand holding pretty easily at 1/30th, and this was shot like in the 200s. So we could have dropped our ISO a little bit and got a little bit cleaner photo to work with as well. So just a couple little tips. Hey, Emily. I'm glad y'all are still driving and being and safe. I know that y'all are making a huge cross-country trip right now. So, yeah, be safe out there. I'm glad y'all are still doing all right. All right, the next one, we're going to have a little product photography. Look at all this cool stuff. All right, we have Jarritos, which is close to what I'm drinking. I have my little Topo Chiquito right now. And there's some good things going about this photo, and there's some things we should work on. I like that this person was playing and learning and growing and expanding their skill set. So good job for that. But it also brings into light why there's some specialty lenses on the market. Canon and Nikon and some other people produce lenses called tilt shift lenses, and it allows you to take the plane of your camera sensor and bend the lens down, up, left, right, as a way to get a different angle into things, but still keep our verticals vertical. So if we notice in these Jarritos bottles, very cool lit from underneath. The lighting's really cool. The reflection's really cool. The thing that it falls apart on, though, is that the bottles are coming in and they're pinching down. We want those bottles to be straight. Okay? It'd be like coming into a job interview and slouching versus walking into a job interview straight up. Right? So with architecture, with product, we want to make sure that our vertical lines are vertical. Unless they're not supposed to be vertical, but where they're supposed to be vertical, we want to keep them nice and straight. So to get this angle, we could do it in software, but we'd have to shoot with more pixels than was shot, so that we have room in our post processing to get rid of some, because we're going to be pinching and pulling different parts of the photo. The other way we can do this is with a tilt shift lens. Canon actually makes tilt shift macro lenses, something you may want to rent and try if this is something interesting to you. But it's a way to change. We can get an angle and shoot down, but then correct for that keystoning. Can you see how the bases of the bottles are keystoned? We want to make those straight. And so you can do it in post, right? We can do it in Lightroom with the transform tool or in Photoshop with the transform tool. You're going to lose pixels doing that, so make sure you shoot, 10, 15% extra wider, and then you can bring in post. You're going to lose those as you correct. Or if you want to get it right in camera, that's where tilt shift lens comes in. But I really applaud the lighting. You can see that light's coming from, it looks like, I can't tell if it's all from underneath, but it looks like there's an edge light coming across the top as well. So that's really fun, right? Like it's a good experiment. And the reflection is really cool. But what I think is the coolest part of the photo is just the logos. Those are the best lit parts of the liquid. So imagine that we had just those four, and we could shoot those straight on. We wouldn't have to worry about that angle. Keep the lighting just the same, but have that angle, right? And then have maybe, I don't know, 3 of the same color and then 1 separate. And maybe that 1 separate one is the one that gets the attention, right? But just the area above the logo and just where it says like fruit punch lime, just under that. So have that horizontal crop coming across there. I think that could be a more graphic photo. I see what you're going with the reflections, and that's certainly cool. It just needs a little work on as far as getting our lines straight and dealing with all that. Where you put the camera so precise on something like this type of product photography. It might be good to shoot with a longer lens as well. That might help you out a little bit. Instead of using like a 24-70, maybe try shooting this with like a 70-200 or like a 100 macro where you can back up and still get that same narrow angle of view. That might be some ways to do it as well. Hi, Christine. We talked a lot about you as well. I see your clapping hands. I showed them one of the voyeur photos, and we talked about one of your beautiful black and white photos as well. So, all right, let's talk about another close photo, right? We kind of have this theme going on, close and black and white. So here's a great example of my friend Brian with a fisheye at a punk show. Look at that guy with his hands thrown up. Man, he's rocking and rolling. We got a singer with a mohawk. We got a bassist that is just getting after it. It's a harsh black and white. I love everything about this, except for, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. All I can see is their hands, but they're really cradling their iPhone with a beautiful like iPhone case. And it's right in the center of the frame. And that just kind of ruins it. I love this photo. I love the energy of it, right? Does it feel like you're at a punk show? Hell yeah, it does, right? We got people throwing arms up. We got everything. We got the guy standing on the amplifier. All of that's going for us. And then there's just this funny person holding their cell phone. Maybe they're live streaming at the show. I don't know. I imagine that the cell phone case is pink. It's shot in black and white, but in my mind, this case is pink, because that would be perfect. It feels a lot like the Dolores from Harry Potter, right? All in that pink. Right, this show's trying to be punk, and then here we have Dolores Umbridge, right, in the pink like power pantsuit. That's what that phone feels like in the middle. It's just so incongruent to everything else that's going on in this photo, and it sucks because everything else in this photo is awesome. And then you have Dolores Umbridge with her little cell phone, probably trying to broadcast to Instagram Live. Also, this is the type of black and white photography that I really dig. That very like punchy, contrasty, just very kind of extreme, right? Doesn't it fit the mood of this? And this might have been shot at high ISO. It looks a little grainy. Who cares? It's punk, right? Go crazy. Again, this is the type of photo, I love this moment. This is the type of photo that would also work maybe with a slower shutter speed, right? Really getting that arm coming forward in motion, right? Seeing a little bit of that motion is okay. It can be hard in the moment to do all that. I absolutely get that. But just as a thought process, think about what this photo would look like if everybody was moving. I think there was a flash going off on this one. So throwing that on-camera flash onto our second curtain sink letting that motion happen and then flashing at the end, that could be a really cool way to really showcase motion, showcase attitude, and really give it even more motion and energy to that photo. That's the thing that that's what I would try to do, right? It's really, I don't want a frozen motion. I want to see time passing. I want to see that guy screaming with his action trail behind him. So I think those are some things that we can do to get more energy out of our photos, right? I like the processing. I like the angle. I like they were shot with a fisheye. This was done very close. I bet the photographer and the person aren't more than 3 or 4 feet away, right? And how different that feels than if it had been shot with a 70-200, right? This same scene shot with a 70-200 almost would feel antiseptic. It would feel too clean, too perfect. And so it's nice to get that kind of in your face, right? That's punk, right? It's a punk show. Get in your face, right? Get right in the middle of everything. And I think for more of our photography, be a little more punk, man. Be a little more in your face. And how much different that feels than being safe and playing it kind of from the sidelines. This person is in the scene that he's capturing versus the edge of the scene coming in. Right? Does that kind of resonate with y'all? Like, be in the scene that you're photography. Not only in the scene, literally, this person is at a show photographing this. Right? If you want to get good, if you want to get successful in something, you have to be in that scene. If you want to photograph rock stars, you got to go to where the rock stars are. If you want to photograph cars, you have to go where the cars are. But not only that, you have to go hang out with people who own cars. You have to be in that network as well. You have to show your work and show what you do to those people in the scene. And so I think this is an interesting metaphor, right? Not only do you have to be in the scene, but you need to be in the scene to have success in whatever area. Like, people aren't just going to pluck you out and find you, right? They're not going to be like, oh, this person shoots amazing product photos. I want them to come shoot my airplane. Doesn't really happen, right? If you want to take airplane photos, you need to find a bunch of pilots because they're the people that are flying the plane. So yeah, I think we went through everybody's. Yeah, Kara, I'll come back to yours real quick just because you asked nicely. So my general critique for this one was get the people off the 2x4s, use that diagonal 2x4 right in front of you, and shoot and frame them internally with that triangle so that they feel more three-dimensional instead of flat. The other thing, watch your verticals. We have a lot of tilties. Yeah. I'll tell you more about it, but you can also go back and rewatch. So, guys, we're going to be doing this again in 2 weeks. It's a lot of me talking, and I'm still learning, so it's taking me a little bit longer to get these all pushed out. And if you want to submit, you can just email them to me at my email, josh@azulux.com, and just say something like, hey, here's a photo, in the subject, just put say mean things. And that way I can kind of filter them and download them and put them where I need to go. But I appreciate all of y'all jumping on live with us. It really makes me happy that I can kind of still communicate and be of service to y'all. If y'all have questions or if you want me to break down even further, please let me know. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been our supporter, that's been our Patreon. It really means a lot to us. I have big plans with it. For those of you who do or don't know, my eventual goal is to open a space where we can educate in person. So that's kind of the big goal. We have a business and we do fine with that when that's going. But it's been amazing to see the support of our Patreons and our supporters. And I just think it really speaks to what we're trying to do, which is it's just to help and get everybody better, not only at the business, but at the art side of what they're doing. And again, if y'all want to volunteer for my Voyeur project, Christine already has, but if anybody else wants to volunteer, shoot me an Instagram message or email me. I have about 10 people on the list now, so I'm trying to coordinate by location. So yeah, anyway, reach out to me. Let me know y'all around. We'll see y'all again in 2 weeks. This has been episode 2 of Josh Says Mean Things. Thanks, y'all.